1.
Greetings, you beautiful humans. Welcome to episode 15 of the story of a t-shirt quilt. Today we're going to be talking about my youth, which we often do. This is the t-shirt of the Stardust Hotel in Las Vegas. This is the great logo of the Chicago Blackhawks. The Blackhawks were my hockey team of my youth. I loved the Blackhawks. And the Stardust represents a lot of some formative moments of my youth and teenage years. First of all, the Blackhawks, I just loved hockey. You can't beat genetics. I have always loved hockey. Of all the sports that are represented here, let's see, the Blackhawks, I got the Chicago Cougars, they were a hockey team. The Lightning, that's 3. Lightning up here, that's 4. I got 4, that's the most topics represented up here. Hockey is amazing, the greatest athletes in the world. What they do on skates is incredible. I loved the Blackhawks. There was one year that when they lost to the Montreal Canadiens in the Stanley Cup Final, I had listened, was at, or watched every single game the entire season as a 12-year-old. And in those days, they didn't televise all the games. And the playoff games were in closed caption movie theaters. You had to pay to watch it on TV. Except the last few minutes of Game 7, when the Hawks were about to lose to Montreal in the Chicago Stadium, they put on local television. And I was listening to it depressed as a 12-year-old. And my dad forced me to come down to watch it. And so I watched the Blackhawks lose, bawling my eyes out. An incredibly good lesson to learn about how to cheer for a team, to root for people, to root for a cause, for a political campaign or a candidate. You lose sometimes. But the way that I like to say it is either win or you learn. And I learned about sucking it up, and that not every day, as Bill Clinton famously told Monica Lewinsky, not every day is rainbows and lollipops, honey. But they were dealing with their stuff. It's true. The Stardust, my family goes back to Las Vegas from the beginning. My grandfather, my Papa Harold, was a bootlegger in Chicago. And when Prohibition was repealed in the 1930s, he continued selling liquor, Cutty Sark liquor. He had one of the first wrapped Cadillacs. And he would pull into our neighborhood in Morton Grove. He was a great guy, my Papa, my mom's dad. But he was definitely tied to the mob. Yes, he was. That's because even, bootlegging was all mobbed up, all the firm, if you will. And then once it became legal, it's just, they kept their hand in it, of course. And my uncle Mike, his brother, continued to be a collections guy for the people in Chicago. And then his son, Al Sachs, moved to Vegas in like the 1950s and just started dealing blackjack. And by the time I was a kid, 13, 14, 15 years old, my uncle Al owned the Stardust and the Fremont and the Sundance in Vegas. If you ever saw the movie Casino with Robert De Niro and Sharon Stone and Joe Pesci, there's a scene in Robert De Niro's penthouse where Joe Pesci meets Sharon Stone for the first time. That was the Stardust penthouse. They call it the Tangiers in the movie. But the Tangiers was about the Stardust. All that stuff was based on a real life story that happened before my Uncle Al came in and took over the Stardust. And he lost his gaming license. He became a very wealthy man, but he eventually lost his gaming license because the firm, the boys, were skimming off the top, just like they were in Casino. Same thing, just less dramatic perhaps. But I was sitting in the Las Vegas Stardust coffee shop with my grandfather and my Uncle Kenny, who worked there, and my Uncle Al, who owned the joint. And I was there by myself. I used to fly out. When I was at the University of Wisconsin, I used to fly out to Vegas for my spring break. And my grandparents taught me how to play poker, to win at poker. Poker is the one game you can win because you're not playing against the house, you're playing against other gamblers. So they taught me how to play poker. I paid for my trips many times. And so we're sitting around the table at the coffee shop there, and the Palm Room, it was called. And I said, just out loud, does the mafia have anything to do with this? And my grandfather could not have changed the subject faster. And I was like, oops. And he just said to me, he was like, Glenn, never bring that up again. And I never did. It's because it doesn't exist. You know that. It's a fable. When I was 15 in Vegas, visiting by myself, my grandfather, I was a virgin at 15, and was a virgin later than most guys during that era until I was 20. But I was, I dated all the time. I loved girls, but I needed to be told how to do things. Nobody ever told me. I had to be told how to masturbate, for example. At 13, my friend Steve taught me how to masturbate. He told me about it. I said, excuse me, I'm going home now. He said, just go in the shower and you take care of business. And after about a week, I figured, I probably could do this after taking 5 showers a day for a week. I probably could do this not out of the shower, not in the shower. Anyway, he's on the phone with some escort service, whatever, and I'm freaking out. This was not what I imagined. And so here's what I hear my grandpa Harold say, my papa. He goes, $50, are you fucking kidding me? Click. He hangs up, and I was like, thank God. It's like $50. That's how I almost lost my virginity. It was later on at the University of Wisconsin. Anyway, a lot of laughs, a lot of great times, childhood memories, you guys. And so I have these shirts represented on the t-shirt quilt on purpose. With a purpose. I still love going to Vegas, even though it's completely changed from the movie Casino. If you want to ever see an interesting take on Vegas and just a great documentary, watch the documentary on Don Rickles' life. He spent a lot of time in Vegas, was very successful. And I just love history. I love human nature, and I love you people. We'll continue next time on the story of a t-shirt quilt. Let me hear from you. Klein.coach is the website, and my email is grow@coachglennklein.com. Let's make some memories together.